Hello, my name is Yulia. I'm 26 years old. I'm practicing in the school of GENADY Givin for more than 2 years, and I woke up about a year ago. But this form that you see, my personality, someone can like, and maybe someone can dislike. This, in fact, does not have any importance. I would like to ask you to perceive what I say, the depth from which I'm sharing my state. Not through the mind, but through the heart. I will try. How, Yulia, did your past begin? Maybe no longer Yulia. I'm sorry. How did you start your path? Actually, my search and the movement to awakening took only a few years. It's not that much. That is, being in a team, I spent half a year in order to wake up. And indeed, it can be worth it to give it such a short time. Because we are born for this. For this we come here. Talking about my past, I grew so inquisitive and a wise child. I was loved by adults. I talked with them as an equal. There is such a thing as inner age or a wisdom of the soul, and it does not have anything to do with the number in our passports. Up to 20 years I had in my life all that I needed, even more. I was spoiled, I was selfish to the fullest. I basically did not care about other people. I basically did not care about the questions of the universe. And there was no desire to share or to take care of someone. And then I fell in love. When I fell in love, I started to feel my nature. I started to care, I started to give a lot, and I experienced from this a great pleasure. But then it was the 2013-2014 years. A number of events occurred that changed my life. In 2013, face to face, I met death. Before that, there were a lot of different events, unpleasant. But when you encounter such an inevitable, it radically changes you. When people go through this experience, they are very quickly cleansed. This is a very strong hit to the ego and to the personality. If you ever experienced it, people immediately become very open and clean for a while. But usually inside there is a strong change happening in some direction. I had a brother and we were very close. And at 27 he died. When you're faced with this force, which is much higher than us and which gives this life, and for some reason takes away when life ends instantly and you cannot do anything about it, it is so scary. I think there is nothing more scary than that, because both before and after there were different events. Diseases, I twice turned out in intensive care on the verge of life and death. And various personal worries, all this fades away in front of such events, which turns over your life. You completely differently relate to life. You start to appreciate it and you start to ask questions. At first time, I did not realize what happened. Then there was a series of events. I started having problems with my loved one, and the last stage was that I had a car accident. I had a car accident alone. I was alone in the car. And this is exactly the case when life talks to you. And this is not just some warning. It is a red card that says it is impossible to go any further. That means you need to stop and think, change something. You need to feel somehow what life wants to tell you. I realized that I was at a dead end. In my 20s, my health started to fall apart. Naturally, because of tremendous stress, my heart began to ache, 1/3 of my hair fell out, problems began. In general, there was no joy. No joy at all. And I began to look for answers. I went to a psychologist. I'm a psychologist myself, and all my life I was getting to know myself and life itself. Through psychoanalysis, through people.
Через людей, через окружающие события. Меня это очень увлекает.
Through the surrounding events. It is very fascinating to me. I love to observe cause and consequence connection as it is very wisely arranged why it is happening. I went to a lot of specialists, studied a lot of literature. For about a year, I was much alone with myself. I was getting to know myself and my nature. Unconsciously, I did the same thing we do on a retreat. I was fasting from time to time. I was living somehow without communication. With my relatives, I wanted to be alone. I understood that all of our answers are inside. And at that moment, this search began to become conscious. I began to hear my voice and my inner voice strong enough. Once I read on the internet a book, Andrei Bashun, Conversation with the Angel. I really like the topic of angels and higher powers that somehow protect us, take care of us. Hear this love, pure. I like this book, and I instantly took the decision that I will go on a course, open heart. I called and I was told, girl, come to yoga, or at least to the practice of stillness. Look what it is. I came, and in one day I made a full payment for the whole course. I knew that it was mine. Often there come people to our classes with outwardly beautiful sheath, young, but there is no life in them. I did not smile at all, I did not laugh. If you saw me then, you just wouldn't recognize me. It was a different person in which in such a young age it felt like the time has stopped. And there was no life, no energy, no light, nothing, no hint of pleasure. I started going to practice of stillness. Did not miss a single class. And passed course. The course was not easy to me. Because our retreat course, our interaction system with life. And as much as you invest, so much you will get. Team, teacher, and instructors make the maximum possible. I worked at the limit. I knew it was a way to move very much and fast forward. On the course, I was first time unidentified with the ego, with the mind. Before that, I did not have such an experience, nothing close to that. Although I tried bodily practice, but not meditation. I didn't do anything like that. After the course, the questions arose about continuing the studying. I can say it was the most difficult decision in my life. I knew that I needed to do it, but I consciously resisted because I knew on what path I am stepping, because spiritual work is the hardest thing there is. because we do not work with a consequence, with some external reasons or circumstances. We work with ourselves, with our fears, with all our experience, with our strongest pain. And with all this you come across when you immerse into yourself. I have decided to continue the training, got into the team, and from this decision, in fact, everything depends. When you are ready to set everything up according to the awakening, so it is happening. It only needs a little time for our body and psychic system to get prepared. This is a very strong transition, fundamental change of the perception. I would say that this is a birth of life. I had different experiences. I'm quite sensitive and emotional person. And the experiences of samadhi and touching the source were happening to me far more than once. The first such an experience, it changed me. And the feeling of peace stayed with me forever. That is, there was no happiness and the joy of what is happening before, like after awakening. Peace and this basis of this force. I already had the soil under my foot. I knew that I would come. I knew that I would come very quickly to this goal. I was confident in my power. I was confident in the day of tomorrow. After we had a closed course, it lasted for 2 weeks in Latvia. This course is for the team only. Therefore, there is a corresponding load. This is not practice of stillness, it is much more than that. Because if you put yourself there to the maximum, then this is a real way to wake up. I didn't have a question then, I didn't bargain already. I decided for myself that I had enough of suffering and some kind of trash in life, as we say. It was the only goal. And when I looked back, I understood that all my aspects in life, all my selfish desires, they left far behind. I didn't have a question, go to the class or not, go to the course or not. And my relatives, loved ones, had no choice. They just accepted it. The question was either so or not, and you won't be in my life. It is very tough, but then it was necessary. And the people who love you and accept you, they support you. Almost the whole course, I was in the awakening state. We had a videotape experience of awakening. We did not know if it will fixate or not because the experiences occurred regularly. We do not pay attention to it and no one knows will it fixate or not. And in one of those experiences, it was not touching the source. It was absolute merging with the field, with the Atman, the Absolute. It changed me again, brought me to a new level. When I sat in meditation, my mind, it has expanded. I went out of the body. And this process was happening gradually. I saw the room, I saw our city, I saw my close ones, and surrounding people like the actors in the movie. Very similar to the movie. As if the camera is being pulled back and you see the earth, the universe, and at the end, you merge with the field. This is not a touch of the source. This is a complete merging with the field, with the Absolute, with God. There is no hint of separateness. There is no concept of I. There is no concept. There is everything and there is nothing. That is what I said about what is impossible to describe. There is nothing further. And I was given to feel it. And when I came back to my body, I was, of course, softly speaking, stunned. I went to Maxim, to our friend who woke up much earlier. I say, how do I live further? Because it is such an awesome experience. I'm talking now with words and they are very, very limited. But when you experience it, this world, it seems very limited. You do not understand at all what to do and how to function further. You have been shown how it is, but you are still here anyway. It is very confusing, to put it mildly. He told me, live here and now, and I gradually returned to that. This is the only correct way. It is not forced listening to our mind. To think about future, generally philosophizing, when it will be or not. This state, how to come to it. We need to live here and now. This is the only thing real at the moment. On that course, we were also given individual consonants. Our instructors will tell about it better. I felt joy. I think the awakening happened exactly at that moment. For me, it was a moment of such indescribable delight and celebration. I just react very emotionally to such things. Some awaken, they just fall into a stupor. They are stunned by what is happening, and they basically have no emotions. My nature is different. I express myself very vividly. I had such a smile and indescribable delight of what I feel, and I wonder why people don't feel it, why they do not see it. Because it is a celebration. You came home. You did what you are born for. You finally can continue this way consciously. You were born again. And it is impossible to describe. Just glee. I was very emotional. Delight of what is happening, even then I felt it. I did not understand what was happening, I felt it. And the next day I was doing an individual program in the forest. Those things that at first look seem so simple, it's not that easy to come to. We say relax and let go. Live here and now. For us people living in the mind, it seems very complicated. It was necessary to work hard to come to this. I am standing in the forest. I try very much because it is an internal work. You need all your attention, all your senses, direct on here and now, perceive the world exactly centrally, and it comes to mind that it is not necessary to do anything. The mind is working slow. It took a while for the mind to realize what happened. And the phrase comes to me, you come home. And again, this delight. It is such a relief on a level of mind, because the suffering and the pain that we experienced and experience in the world of the mind, they are no longer there, and they will never be. I was so happy, I screamed, I cried, laughed, because that's all. You crossed some line, and you felt your nature. In fact, you don't exist. From this moment, you do not exist. And this absolute freedom, this is such a happiness every moment to observe life as it is happening, because it is very wise process. It is awesome. This can only be felt. And I have a cool opportunity to share with you. And I did audio recording of my impression first minutes after awakening, when I realized that it happened. And I'm not sure that somewhere in the world it is, because people tend to wake up but their past is not conscious and they do not understand what is going on with them. And here it comes to you. And the emotions transmit this state. Now we'll turn it on. Guys, I'm torn apart from this happiness. Today is October 12th, sort of. I woke up. Finally, this long way is past.
Наконец-то этот путь долгий, он пройден.
Finally, all the misery and sorrows are left behind, and only happiness lies ahead.
Впереди только счастье.
Such happiness which I do not know yet.
Еще я не знаю.
I will share with you all that I got to know through my experience, for your way to be easier.
Легче.
I will support you as I can.
Как смогу.
I love this life very much.
Эту жизнь.
Finally,
Наконец-то.
I can't describe how much joyful this event is.
Это радостное событие.
It is much more important than birth.
Но гораздо важнее, чем рождение.
Awakening is very seldom.
Редко.
We are all going to it. It spent a lot of forces, not so much of time.
Не так много времени.
I tried very hard. I really wanted it. I worked a lot on this. Every day I worked like this.
Работала так.
No one has ever seen it.
Порой.
Sometimes it was difficult, but it is possible to do it.
Всё это реально сделать.
I really want you to feel it, this peace.
Тоже ощутили это. Этот покой.
Finally, there is nowhere to go. Guys, this is such happiness. This is such a freedom.
Свобода.
Wherever you go, whatever happens to you,
что бы с тобой ни происходило,
all is well.
Хорошо.
You are at home. You are love.
Любовь.
Everything around is beautiful. It becomes alive, and never again it will be the same.
Никогда не будет прежним.
It is all part of me. This huge world, so beautiful, magical. It's alive. Thanks for all. I thank this life. From the moment I woke up, more than a year has passed. And my perception of life, I'll try to describe a little. It changes every day, every moment.
Это
Awakening is the moment when you feel your nature.
чувствуешь свою природу, ты
You're disappearing.
исчезаешь. То есть
Basically, ratification happens, if to put it in words.
отождествление, если сказать так на словах.
And complete unity with this field. This is you. Everything that happens is you. Fears disappear because you have a fundament in life that is unshakable and does not depend on anything. No matter where you are, no matter what you do, you are always fine. And of course, for me, it is a delight of life, because every moment it is happening, and you start to see it. And this is such an amazing process. How in the world of forms is this energy circulates and recognizes itself, and this depth is infinite. If someone thinks that after awakening the past ends, then I would say that it is just the beginning. This is the beginning of the conscious path of getting to know yourself, your nature, sensuality. Whatever words we have juggled now,
жонглировали сейчас,
It can only be felt.
можно только почувствовать. Пробуждение.
Awakening is impossible to understand. You know, I'm totally and completely standing for practice.
Потому что
Because if all concepts and theories are not experienced,
не пережиты, они не стоят
they are not worth anything. It is just words. Yes, at some stage we need information to come, but I am an example of how this path can be done in rather short time, without decades of meditation and suffering.
Коротко.
We have guys who came to the team and awakened much faster than me. Because it is such a process, the more potential we have, we function together and it happens easier. Sometimes the mind can deceive us. It says that we have awakened, but in reality it is not so. Therefore, it is worth to trust those people who have passed this path. When they already experienced it, they crossed it and went further, then they feel it. I have a chance to watch in our team how it happens. And again, to transmit it through words is impossible. It's like giving a birth to a baby. It's such an amazing process. It can be stretched in a period of time. A person can be not aware of it. It takes time for the mind to realize it. We have people waking up and they see how they change. Cardinally. Their changes, so to speak, the internal feeling, their spirit, this light, it becomes completely different. You see that person has changed. I came up and asked, how do you feel this life? What happened? They are not aware. The mind realizes a bit later, because it is arranged in this way. But the feeling of this life, it is felt immediately. So much light, energy goes through a person. You immediately feel it. Such an interaction happens directly. And this is an amazing process. Awakening is. You know, when babies are born, they can scream and cry. For them, this is a huge stress. It is really a very heavy event for their body. For the psyche, for the physical body. But when you expand a little in your perception, you look at this situation not from an aspect of your personality, but from an aspect of the field. You see how perfect it is. It's reality great. In the initial stages after awakening, what people say, there is lots of information on the internet. You feel yourself as all. You feel as a part of this field, or completely this field. The personality kind of leaves. I is dissolving. You're observing the mind. You know, when you move forward, you see all those illusions. Because separation still exists. After awakening, there is still so many things. Many people stop. I understand them because you feel a very strong relief. You came home. You were walking for so long in the world of mind, and you came and you want to live in this state, and that's all. Just like Edhard Tolle to lie for 2 weeks on a bench. If you have an illusion that you have understood everything in this world, it means you stopped, because this nature, it is infinite, and each has its limits. Even being awakened, man has boundaries. They are just a little wider than in the world of the mind. They are wider than the body, they are a little wider. We call it matryoshka. Each time you enter a new level of perception. And after awakening, I had a few of those entrances, very bright ones. I experienced them as an awakening again. Therefore, the perception changes again. You observe some kind of potential. When I awakened, I asked our teacher Gennady, why do I need to move forward? Everything is wonderful already. A logical question. People ask, why are you building this educational system? You transmit this knowledge, why? And he says, play, let it pass. He smiled, looked at me and said, let the time pass. In the team, the time is very compressed. Everything happens with a catastrophical speed, and during some time I felt, if to put it in words, it is a kind of tension. It is very subtle. You gain the potential more and more in order. An awakened person has to gain a certain potential. Then this shifting happens. When you go further, this potential gets wider and wider. It grows. And again you face this subtle wall of yourself. And further there is even more of everything. And only a person who has walked further can show it to you, because alone it is almost impossible to see. You are going to see it gradually. It is going to be stretched in time. It will happen through some situations or people. Every time I face this wall, I overcome it. I open my eyes and I am kind of being born again. And again, you look at this world in a new way, and it is perfect again, and is infinitely amazing and full. When you observe life, how it is happening, not from the position of personality, but from the position of this field, from this consciousness, then you relate to everything differently. A lot of people say that when you will awaken, you are going to laugh a lot. All is much more simple. It's not that cynical relation which devalues everything what is happening here. Just there is no such a significance when some unpleasant situation happens to us. Oh, God forbid a grief, we maximally taper off. This is the case why it is so difficult for us to live it through. Because our egoism reaches the peak, we taper off into our personality. We don't see and hear anyone around. And here a wish of a person is needed to see something further. When you perceive the world from a position of a field, then everything is totally different. This process continues constantly. It never ends. After awakening, for some period of time, and for quite long period, as a rule, our personality, ego, mind, all those limiting things, they stay. You just observe them from aside. For some period of time, they are working itself out. Karma is being worked out. The pain body still remains. Whatever people say, inside there is peace, happiness. Even outwardly different events can happen. I can be sad, I can cry, but in the moment I don't identify myself with it. There is no I. It was disappearing before also. We just got used to use it in order to make agreements in the world of mind between ourselves. On initial phases you see that all of it is you, that all of it is a mirror, that every person, every event, every particle in this world is you, and you interact with yourself. It is very interesting. If to live here and now, not trying to describe it somehow or to evaluate, analyze, think about it, but to live it, it is an amazing process. Understanding of time disappears. When you go further, time and space, they in fact disappear, because it is the conditions which have been created by us for functioning in a world of mind. Past, present, future, it already exists. Totally different depths reveals new dimensions, so to speak. You are not spinning on a surface. You see the limits of your organs, of senses. In general, those limits disappear, they become thinner and thinner, and this process is infinite. Sometimes it seems that you have reached something, but then again you face a new edge. Before the practice and now, also, I have a special ability. Since I was born, I have a very strong intuition and empathy. I feel other people as myself. That's why the transition to unity was pretty fluent for me.
единение, он был у меня достаточно плавный, для
For
меня
me, it
это
is usual.
привычно.
Only
Когда
talking to
разговариваю с
someone,
кем-то,
I
я понимаю,
realize
что
that
люди,
people live
оказывается, живут
differently.
по-другому. У
There is
них
some
есть
kind of
какая-то
separation in
разделенность.
them.
Я, в
In my
принципе,
activities, I am
в
constantly
силу своей
interacting
рода деятельности постоянно функционирую
with
с людьми,
people.
взаимодействую.
I
Я
feel
чувствую,
all that
что
they feel.
чувствуют они.
After
Это
awakening,
поведение, это
this
чувствование
sensibility
настолько,
has developed
настолько
so
развилось.
much that I can
Я
see
вижу
the past
прошлое,
and the
будущее
future of
человека.
a person. I can
Я
see his
вижу его
thoughts,
мысли
what
в
he
том.
wants to say,
Даже не
not
только
even
мысли,
thoughts,
его
but the
намерения. Она
intentions.
только
It is just
зарождается, и
born
я
and
уже
I
знаю,
already
что
know what
будет.
will be,
А
and I
я все
still
равно
interact.
взаимодействую.
I
Мне не
don't get
становится
bored
от этого
because of that.
скучно.
It doesn't make me
Когда ты живешь
bored.
в мире ума,
When
тебе
you live in a
становится
world of
просто
mind, you
кажется, ну
become
как, ты все
bored.
знаешь.
It seems that you
Но
already
этот
know
процесс, он
everything.
такой
This process is
интересный,
so
он такой
interesting and so
самодостаточный.
self-sufficient.
Мне
Pictures
начали
about the future
открываться
started to reveal to me.
картины из будущего. Раньше это
Before I
было
had
во
it in
снах,
my
сейчас
dreams, now it is
это
happening
происходит
constantly.
постоянно. Совершенно
Totally
другое
different
отношение к
relation to the
будущему,
future and the
к
past,
прошлому,
to
к
death,
смерти, к таким
and to
вещам,
such things
которые
which in the
в
world of
мире
mind
ума,
really
они
makes you
очень на
tense.
нас давят. Что
That
время
time
идет,
passed and you need
тебе
to do
нужно
it on
что-то
time.
успеть,
You
тебе
need to
нужно
do
что-то
something.
сделать, тебе нужно быть
That you
каким-то
need to be a
определенным
certain type of a
человеком,
person.
соответствовать
You
каким-то
have to fit in
критериям.
with some kind of qualities. My
Боже мой,
God, I'm really sorry
я
for those
очень
people
сочувствую
who
людям,
still live like
которые
this.
пока еще так живут. Потому что
Because when you
когда
feel
ты
your
видишь свою
nature, it
природу,
is so easy
это
and
так
natural.
легко, это так естественно.
There
Нету
is no
этой
constant
оценки
labeling of
постоянным
everything.
событиям, нету
There is no analysis.
анализа,
There
нету
is no those
бесконечных
infinite beliefs of how
представлений о
a
том, каким
person needs
должен
to
быть
be,
человек, какое-то
or some
событие или
events, or
кто-то.
even you.
Есть чисто
There is a pure
восприятие жизни.
perception
Здесь
of life.
происходит
Life is
что-то,
happening
ты
and
не
that's all,
думаешь
and
об
you
этом.
don't think
Оно
about it. It
происходит.
just happens.
Когда
When
тебе
you need
нужно
to
думать,
think,
ты
you
думаешь.
think,
Но этот
but you do not
процесс, ты не
identify with it
отождествляешься в этот момент.
at the
Ты не
moment.
есть ум в
You are
этот
not the
момент.
mind
Это
in this
просто часть
moment.
тебя
It's
на
just part
текущий
of you.
момент.
It functions.
А ты гораздо
You
больше.
are
Ты не
much
просто
more.
наблюдаешь со
Not
стороны.
just you are
Ты
looking
вот это
from a
вот все
side, but you are all
происходящее,
this
из чего это
happening. What
создается,
is
из чего это
creating from,
происходит.
where from it is happening.
Границы исчезают.
Boundaries
Смерть как
disappear.
таковая
Death, like
не
we
существует
understand
только
it,
в уме
exists only
для
in the
эго.
mind for the
Потому
ego,
что
because a part of
часть
consciousness, a part
сознания,
of you
часть
leaves
тебя
this world
как бы покидает этот мир и
and
функционирует
functions out of the
в
body
теле, а
in
в
some
каком-то
kind of
другом, более
other,
тонком
more
плане.
subtle level.
Но когда
But
человек
when we are limited
ограничен
with our
своей личностью,
personality,
для него это смерть,
for
это
it is
самое
death,
страшное.
it is the most scary.
На замкнутом
In a
курсе у
closed
меня
circle
был
course, I
страшный
had a
опыт.
scary
У нас было много
experience.
разных
I had
опытов.
a lot of different
Я
experiences. I
переживала смерть
experienced
эго.
the death of ego.
Ну, многие
Many
перед
people
пробуждением
experience
это
it before
испытывают.
awakening.
У многих, кто идет
Many
по
people who
этому
are passing
варианту,
it in a crucial
они
way comes
приходят
to
к
an awakening
пробуждению через
through a
состояние
state of
пограничных
borderline of life
ощущений.
and death.
Это
Many
большинство
spiritual
духовных
guru who are famous
гуру
throughout the
известных по
world,
всему миру, они
they
просыпались
were
в
waking up
пробуждении,
exactly like
попадали
this.
в кому,
Some were in a
десятки
coma or some
случаев.
experienced accidents.
У них были
Some
попытки
tried to commit
суицида или
suicide or
что-то
something
такое,
like this.
когда ты в полном
When you're
отчаянии.
in total
Это в моем
desperation,
понимании
it is
называется
called a
полное
full giving
отчаяние.
up.
Мне на
I had the
замкнутом
same in a
курсе
closed
произошло.
circle
Я
course. I
наработала
worked and I
то,
did
чему
maximum of
абсолютно
what I
могла.
could.
Я
I
пережила этот
experienced the
момент
death of ego.
смерти эго, когда
A
для
moment
твоего
when,
ума,
for the mind, this separation feels like forever.
когда ты разделяешься от него насовсем, вот этот момент, он
This
очень
moment is
болезненный.
very
Я
painful.
реально в своем
Really, in my
сознании
consciousness, I
прощалась
was
с этим
saying goodbye
миром.
with this world.
Я кричала от
And I was
боли,
screaming from
потому что
pain. I'm quite a strong
у меня
person, but I
достаточно
was
сильный щит,
screaming
но я
because of
кричала
the
от него,
horror.
потому что это было так
It was so
невыносимо. Я
unbearable.
прощалась
I
со
was
всеми
saying goodbye
своими
to all my
родными, потому
relatives
что мне
because I
казалось,
felt like
вот
I
я
was
умираю.
dying.
Хотя я лежала
Although
на
at this
ложе.
moment I was lying
Наше
on the
сознание
mat,
вытворяет
our
такие
consciousness
вещи
makes up such things in the
в
world of
мире ума,
mind
когда
when
ты
we are still
ограничен.
limited.
Но
But
каждый момент,
every
когда вот
moment
этот
when the
вот
tension
напряг
reached its
достигал
peak,
максимума,
I
я
was
расслаблялась,
relaxing
я
and
вспоминала
remembering
о том,
that
что
here and
это
now
все
everything
сейчас
is
и
okay.
снизу.
All of it
Это все
happens
в
in
голове
your mind.
происходит. Вот это
This ego, this
эго, вот это
tension, it is
напряжение, оно
just in the
только в
head.
голове.
It exists
Только в
only in
нашем
our
уме
mind.
существует.
And when
Когда
you
ты
reach the
достигаешь
limit,
предела,
a moment happens. A moment
происходит такой
happens.
момент
It is very
очень тонкий.
subtle. Many
Люди
comes
доходят
to
до
a set of
состояния отчаяния.
despair.
Не
We
знаю,
have
как
almost
даже
all
это
guys going
описывать.
through it. And you
Тебе
need to
нужно
let go.
отпустить. Это такая,
This is the kind of thing you
такая
need to
вещь,
let
тебе
go
нужно
of the
отпустить
very
саму
idea
идею
of
пробуждения.
awakening.
И вот это
And
вот
this
желание.
desire, from a point of view of the
Никак не
mind, it looks works? How is it possible? I want to wake up and I'm doing everything for it. How can I let go? Because especially in this moment, you're letting it go.
Ты перескакиваешь. Все.
All of it,
И это происходит.
and it happens.
Это не
And it's not just an experience, it is the state from which you're not going to come back to a previous state.
Ты больше не вернешься в прежнее состояние никогда.
Never.
Это и есть
This is an awakening.
Ты
You
меняешь,
change cardinally because you
потому что
totally
полностью расторжествуешь
separate with your ego, with this illusion.
с этой иллюзией. А
And
дальше,
further,
дальше,
further,
дальше
further,
ты
you
просто
just
это
see
видишь.
it.
Ты
You
видишь
see your personality, some karmic
свою
lessons,
личность, какие-то кармические уроки, какие-то
some
вещи,
things.
они происходят.
It is happening
А
and
ты
you
это
are it
всё
all,
одно.
if we can
Ну,
say
если
so.
можно так сказать, что это ты.
You are it. So who are you? I do not
А меня
exist.
нет. Это... Ну вот если бы...
If I was asked after awakening, who am I?
Если бы меня спросили после пробуждения, кто
I
я, я
would
бы
say that
сказала,
I am
что
all and
я
all
это
is
все,
me.
а все это я.
Now, at this stage on which I
Хотя
am, it is
на
impossible
том этапе, на
to
котором я
describe
нахожусь, сказать
anything.
вообще невозможно ничего. Просто
Nothing.
ничего.
It's
Нету
not in
в литературе
literature.
нет
There are
людей,
no
которые
people who could
могли бы так
describe
это
it
описать. Это
somehow.
можно
It can only be
только
felt.
почувствовать.
I do
Меня
not
нет,
exist,
но
but
при
at the
этом
same
я вот
time,
это
I am
все.
all. And they say
Говорят, живая
living
пустота,
emptiness, which
в
is
которой есть
everything and
все и нет
nothing.
ничего.
There are no
Нету
limits.
границ.
More
Точнее, они
precisely, they
существуют,
still
но
exist, but you know, this is
знаете, это
another
очередная
illusion.
иллюзия. Я ее
I
начала
started to
наблюдать
observe it
в
lately.
последнее время.
While you talk
Пока
about
ты
material world and
говоришь о
spiritual world,
материальном мире, духовном мире, о
about an awakening, when
пробуждении
you
и о
speak that there
чем-то
is a world of
другом,
mind and something
когда ты
else,
говоришь, что есть мир ума, а есть что-то другое,
it
значит,
means
есть
there is still
разделение. Это как бы
separation. It's
очевидно.
obvious,
Но
but we
нам
like it.
нравится, мы в
We
этом
are
вот
boiling in
варимся,
it until we
пока,
see it,
пока не увидим это,
until we
пока
look
немножечко
at
шире
it a
опять не
little bit
посмотрим.
wider. There is a
Разделение
separation.
существует, пока
Until
есть
there is material
материальный мир,
world, it
значит,
means
тебе
you
есть
have
куда
where
двигаться.
to move on.
Ну,
For
тебе.
you, it means
Тебе
that the
есть куда
process goes
двигаться.
on. How do you
Ты
perceive
себя
yourself now?
воспринимаешь
Are you talking from the inside of your body
сейчас
now?
говоришь, или где-то снаружи?
Or are you somewhere outside?
Хороший вопрос,
Good
потому
question.
что
When I just
начала
started to practice, I was
я как
closing
только
my
начала
eyes
заниматься практикой, я закрывала глаза и видела все
and I was
это.
seeing everything
То есть у
around.
меня уже
I mean,
тогда
that already then
появилось
I had this perception.
этот
When we were meditating, I was
медитацию, я
seeing and
видела, я чувствовала,
feeling.
воспринимала
I
мир
was
вот
perceiving the
совсем
world even with
по-другому.
my eyes
То есть у
closed
тебя
because
открывается другой
there
уровень.
opens another
Ты
sense
как бы
organ for
воспринимаешь
you.
всем своим
You perceive
телом,
with the whole
слышишь
body,
всем
you
своим
hear with
телом,
all your body,
видишь,
you
чувствуешь.
see,
Да?
you feel. Before
Потом,
the awakening, I
до
had an
пробуждения, у меня
experience.
случился опыт, и я
I
начала
started to perceive
воспринимать
all
весь
the
мир вот
world
так.
like if
Как
I
будто
am
это
all,
все, ну,
and
это
the
всё
personality is
внутри.
inside of it.
А что
And what is
сейчас это,
happening
я не
now, I
знаю.
don't even know how to
Потому
describe,
что
because
дальше
further there are
вот
no
этого вот
such
нет.
things.
Вообще вот это. Просто есть
Simply
всё.
everything is.
Потому
Because
что
even this
даже этот
question,
вопрос, даже
even a
намек,
hint,
он
it already
уже
means
подразумевает какую-то разделенность.
some kind of separateness.
А в моем
And in my
вот
current
нынешнем
perception, there is
восприятии
no external,
нету внешнего,
internal,
внутреннего. Есть все.
there is just all.
Ты
Do you
спишь?
sleep at all?
И что происходит?
And what happens in a dream?
Во сне,
In a
наконец-то,
dream, I
начала себя
started to
осознавать.
realize myself.
То есть мое сознание
It means
может
that my
спать.
consciousness doesn't fall asleep.
И
And
первое
in the
время это
beginning,
очень
it was very
утомительно.
tiring,
Потому что
because everything
все,
that
что
we
мы
do in
делаем в
casual life
обычной
also
жизни,
happens
тоже происходит во сне, только твое
in a
тело
dream, just your body is laying.
Там
The same
происходят те же
process happens
процессы.
there, you can see
Ты
them.
их видишь. И у меня
For a long
долгое
time
время,
until
до
I
того,
started
как
to
я
be
начала
aware of
себя
myself in
осознавать
a
во сне,
dream,
я долгое
I
время
was waking up
просыпалась
very
очень
tired.
уставшая. Я спала
I was
много,
sleeping a
многих
lot.
пробужденных,
Many awakened
наоборот, у
goes
них
through
просто
an
нет много
opposite
энергии,
process.
им
They have a
нужно
lot of
спать, или
energy, they have
бессонница.
insomnia.
Нет, я спала
No,
вообще
I
всегда.
slept
Чисто
always.
физически
Physically, I
у меня
didn't
с
have
этим проблем
problems
не
with it,
было. Но я
but I was waking
просыпалась
up
уставшая,
tired.
тело отдохнуло,
Body has
сознание
rested,
как
but
бы
consciousness
никак.
didn't, kind of.
И вот
And
чем дальше,
further this
дальше, дальше
process
этот процесс
goes.
идет, я
I
помню
was
о каких-то
remembering some
фрагментах.
fragments,
А
and
сейчас
now, yes, I am
я
aware.
осознаю. То есть
I do not fall asleep, I can say
не
so.
засыпаю, можно так сказать словами.
Did any abilities has
Какие-то
appeared for you?
способности, как сейчас говорят,
How it is said nowadays, siddhi?
Ну, чувство
Feeling other
людей,
people has
оно
developed
развилось до
to
таких
an amazing
феноменальных
things.
вещей, как
There is
есть,
some
можно сказать,
paranormal
паранормальные какие-то склонности. Я вижу
tendencies.
будущее.
I see the
везде.
future, I feel.
Не знаю, как
I
это
do not know how to relate this to abilities.
со способностями. Ну, просто ты
You
воспринимаешь
just
это как
perceive it
само
as
собой
something
разумеющееся.
natural.
Будущее, оно
Future is
настолько
real as
же
the past.
реально, как и прошлое. Я пыталась объяснить, но
I
это очень
tried to
сложно
explain it, but
сделать.
it's
Когда
very
ты в
hard to do
плоскости,
it.
это
When you're on a
невозможно.
plain
Когда ты
surface, it is
идешь
impossible to
глубже,
do when you go deeper.
будущее, оно
The future
есть, и
exists,
при этом
but it
оно
is
живое, оно
alive also.
меняется.
It changes.
И я чувствую, что
And I feel that
есть
there are some
какие-то
things which
вещи,
I can tell.
которые я могу сказать. Это было еще до
It was also before awakening.
вещи и сны, какие-то
Prophetic dreams, some hints. I
Я
saw how
видела,
life
как со мной общается. Вот
communicates with
осознанность,
me.
она была,
Awareness was long
она
time
давно,
ago.
ну, она становится
I just was getting deeper, deeper and deeper.
Я точно знала, что
I knew exactly what to do and what to not. And now I simply see pictures. I see the future.
Так есть всё-таки
So do we have the
свобода?
freedom or not?
Нету. Ты говоришь, будущее меняется.
You say that their future is changing.
Свобода очень хороший
Freedom?
вопрос, потому что
Very good question, because the
понятие
concept of
свободы, оно
freedom,
будет
it will
меняться также
change.
по мере
The
твоего
same as your
продвижения,
movement, your
развития.
development.
В мире ума свободы нет. Сначала
There
у
is no
нас есть
freedom in the world
иллюзия,
of
что
mind. In the
мы как бы
beginning, we have an
свободны.
illusion
Мы
that we are
как
kind
бы
of free. We kind of do what we
делаем то, что
want.
хотим. Мы как
We
бы
create families,
создаем
build
семьи,
careers,
строим карьеру.
or something
Когда
else.
ты немножечко
When you
взрослеешь,
grow up a little and
встречаешься
replete
этим
with all this,
ты начинаешь видеть,
you start
что
to see
есть
that there is some part of you,
какая-то часть тебя, какой-то голос,
some kind of voice that
эго,
rules you.
который тобой руководит. Ты уже
You
начинаешь
start to
чувствовать,
feel
что
that
что-то тут
something
как-то
is
не
not
так. Ты
right
как-то
here.
немножечко не
You're not
свободен.
free a
Ты уже
little. You
упираешься
already face
в
your
свои
walls,
стенки, которые
of
ты
which I spoke
говорила.
before.
Потому что на
Because
самом
in fact, we
деле
are very limited by our
мы очень ограничены своими желаниями,
desires or
своими
purpose.
целями. Не дай бог мы этого не получаем.
God forbid we didn't get it. We feel
Страдание
suffering.
существует только в
Suffering
мире ума,
exists
когда
only in the
есть
world of mind.
настоящий момент,
When
и
there
тебе
is
не
a present
нравится.
moment
Ты
and
не
you don't
слушаешь.
like it, you resist it.
А
The
настоящий
present
момент, он
moment is
совершенен.
perfect.
Это ум
It is the mind which
сопротивляется. И когда ты
resists.
себя
And
отождествляешь
when you
с умом,
identify with the
ты
mind, you
садишься
put
в
yourself in a
клетку,
cage
в которой ты
in which you are just a slave. We can say so.
раб, можно сказать. Не очень так
It
красиво
doesn't sound
звучит,
very
но
nice, but it is so. After you start to see
ты начинаешь видеть эти желания, ты начинаешь
those
видеть те
desires,
программы
programs,
социальные,
and social
установки,
concepts by which you
по
act,
которым ты действуешь. Ты начинаешь
you start to feel all these limitations, and it feels unnatural. Probably there is something else. You want to inhale freely. You gradually go towards awakening, because awakening is the first step to freedom. When you feel your nature, you're even not limited by your body, because you didn't have such an attachment. We are like this. We look into a mirror, we like the reflection, or we don't like it. Somebody said something to us and it influenced our self-value. What is self-value? We have so many games in the mind. They are so different, so interesting. We have a lot of beliefs of how we are, beliefs. They are very far from the truth, and the truth reveals after awakening. You woke up and that's all you see. You look at yourself purely. You do not even have ideas, nothing, somehow to evaluate. Correct or not correct, do I look good or not good, you just are. Absolute acceptance. But together with this, you continue to act. It is a very interesting process. And like this, you reach this freedom. Because you are not limited by that, what your ego wants. This illusion starts to collapse. But you can feel it only when you step out of it. When you sit inside, it seems that you are very cool. You know a lot. And some other people violate your boundaries, which doesn't exist. You are free. How there can be any boundaries? Why do we have conflicts? We face our boundaries. So there are boundaries. When you step out of them, you become free, 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 free. And this process is infinite. Based on what you say, how has your life changed? Your relationship with people, with the world? And how is your social life? Maybe you changed your professional direction or something else? When you change, naturally the whole world is changing. Because actually it is you. Everything is very simple. In general, all ingenious is very simple. When you wake up, everything is very simple. You smile and laugh because it is natural state of yours. To say that my life has changed with the relationship with my relatives, it is to say nothing because they change like me.
Люди
People face their walls.
сталкиваются со своими стенками, потому что
Because I am a living example,
то, что
some
происходит со мной, я
inexplicable
живой пример
things.
каким-то необъяснимым вещам. И
And
когда
when
они
they face it,
упираются,
often they have
возникает
resistance.
сопротивление, потому что
Because the person is
человек
changing,
меняется
inadequate.
неадекватно. Неадекватно быстро и
Inadequate
вообще,
quickly, and in
какой-то он
general he
становится
becomes
более
more good.
хороший такой. Знаете,
When
когда
people
люди
wake up,
просыпаются,
they
они более
become more
чистые
pure,
становятся,
pleasant.
такие приятные. Регулярно
Regularly,
к
people come to my
родителям
parents,
подходят люди,
our relatives, and
родственники
ask,
наши, спрашивают, что с вашей
"What happened with your Julia?
что с ней
What is
происходит?
happening
Чем она
with her?
занимается?
What
Они
is she
так очень
busy with?"
насторожены,
They are very
не
careful,
боятся.
they are
Они
afraid.
спрашивают,
They are
ну,
asking, maybe drugs?
ну, как-то. В основном боятся.
Mostly they are afraid because in the world of mind, it is
Ну, говорю,
impossible to
мать, мне
explain
объясни, почему
why a
человек
person is
счастлив?
happy.
Я помню, как-то
I remember
сказала
once I said to my
своей
cousin that
родственнице, что я
I am
счастлива без
happy without a
причины.
reason.
И
I put a
после
person in
этого
depression.
потому что
She was so
она
afraid.
так испугалась, она сказала, ну,
She said then,
не мне
that is
сказала,
not normal
что это ненормально, это
to be
ненормально.
happy without any reason.
То есть реакция
That is, the reaction will be very
когда
various.
приходила
When I
на
came to
работу,
work after
после
awakening,
пробуждения,
I smiled,
улыбалась,
laughed.
смеялась. Это
For
обычно
me, those are normal states.
А люди
And
плакали
people cried or rejoiced.
или радовались. Они очень по-разному.
They have very different reactions
Ты
on
со
me.
своей
With this more pure
энергией,
energy, you are
более чистой,
provoking
как бы,
their own
провоцируешь
cleansing
исключительные
reactions.
реакции. Кто счастлив, он
Who
счастлив.
is happy, he is
Будет
happy, he is
прекрасно.
fine.
А кто несчастлив и
And who
видит
is
себя
unhappy and
такого,
sees himself in such way, but in the depths
он в глубине
of
души
his
понимает, что что-то не
spirit,
так,
he
что, может быть,
understands that,
что-то у
that something
него
is wrong,
в жизни
something
не
in his
так, и
life
почему
is
так.
not right, and why it is
Проще в
so.
мире ума
And it's
обвинить.
easier in the world of
Классно
mind to
каких-то
blame
них нет.
and refer
Я уже
to some
перестала так
external
провоцировать
reasons.
людей,
I
улыбаться
have already
постоянно.
ceased to
Говорить,
provoke
ну,
people to smile
как-то
constantly.
немножко
Somehow
подстраиваться.
this process adapts a little.
Люди чувствуют,
People feel life.
чем дальше
The further you go, the more you are
развиваешься, ты больше
developing.
познаешь свою
The more you get
природу,
to know your true
у тебя
nature,
больше
the more
идет
this
эта энергия,
energy
она
goes
более
through you.
чистая,
It is more
светлая.
pure, bright, and
И
it
это
is
тянет.
attractive.
Это то,
And this is also very
дети
interesting. Kids
просто
just breaking
вырываются из
out
рук
from the hands of
отца,
their
дети
parents and they
бегут
just
там
run to me somewhere in the park.
парке. Они тянут,
They
особенно
strive,
маленькие,
especially
у них
small
вообще
ones.
стенок
They in
нет,
general don't
таких,
have
как у
walls
нас.
as we
Они
have,
просто вот им
and they
хочется,
just
они не
want without
понимают,
knowing
они вообще
why.
не думают. Они
They
ничего
don't think
опасного
at all.
чувствуют.
They are
Они
cool
просто
with
тянут
everything. They
ручки.
stretch
Они
their
бегут,
hands.
они
They
убегают от
run
родителей,
away
бегут ко
from
мне,
parents and
потому
run
что
to me
их
because they are
тянет как
pulled like a
магнитом.
magnet.
Приехала после
When I
праздника,
arrived
у
after
меня
closed
останавливают
retreat, I
все
was stopped by all traffic cops. They
Они
checked the
проверяли
documents.
документы. Было
Some
такое,
documents were
что
missing,
что-то из
but no,
документов даже не
they
было,
were
они не
not even
замечали.
noticing it.
Это я как
I
сейчас
somehow
забыла этот
forgot the
паспорт, они
technical
это не
passport.
замечали.
They
Они
do
стоят
not
и
notice it. They
разговаривают, им
stand
так
and speak. They
нравится.
like it so
И
much. I don't
они
understand
не
what is
понимают,
happening.
что происходит. Они
They ask, "How are
спрашивают,
you?
ну как у вас дела?
Have a good road?
Хорошие вам дороги. С
Is
вами
everything
хорошо?»
all
Я была
good?" I
расстроена,
was upset
просто
somehow. He
он
comes
ко
to
мне в
me, to
машину
the
подходит,
car,
говорит,
says, "May
ну
everything
все будет
be
хорошо.
good. Write
Доверяйте
peacefully."
спокойно. То есть еще
There is a
как-то
support, although it
поддерживает,
seemed there is
хотя
no
казалось,
understanding
он
what's
не понимает,
happening.
что происходит.
We had an
У нас
interesting
очень
event
интересный
with the
случай был
girl
с
also
девочкой
from
тоже
the
из практики.
practice.
Мы
We were sitting
сидели
in the
в
park and we
парке
spoke about
недавно
life.
и вот говорили о жизни
We were laughing at
смеялись
that
в
moment.
этот момент.
Two guys came
И
to us,
знаете, к нам подошли молодые парни, и
and one
один
of
из
them
них начал
started to
делать
do
массаж
massage for my
моей
friend.
подруге. А
We
мы
sit and
сидим,
enjoy. My
момент
friend, she
было
is
так
also
классно, мы
awakened.
вообще, она тоже пробужденная, мы об
We
этом
were
не
not thinking
думали, мы
about it. We just
воспринимаем, что
perceive
происходит, то
what is
происходит.
happening, that is happening.
И вот
I
он
smile,
делает
he
массаж, и
smiles,
на
his
меня
friend
смотрит,
just
на
stands
меня,
there
мы
and laughs.
улыбаемся, он улыбается. И его друзья хихикают, стоят. Потом
Then his
подходит
friend
его
comes
друг,
to me and
начинает
starts
меня
to massage my
массировать.
neck.
Мы
We
дальше
continue to
улыбаемся,
smile.
все
Everything is
классно.
okay.
И они
He asks,
говорят,
"Why do we do
а
it?"
почему мы это делаем?
And we
Мы
know
все
that
знаем,
everything
что
is
как бы, все
happening just
происходит
right.
правильно, все классно. А он
From a
с точки
perception
зрения
of the
анализа
mind, he does
его
not
тянет, он
understand.
что-то
Something
делает,
attracts
какое-то
him,
некий
and he's doing these unpredictable
непонятное
actions.
действие совершает. Говорит,
He says,
представь, вот
"Well,
мы
we
сейчас
just
здесь
stand
стоим,
here,
они между собой переговорят, мы сейчас здесь стоим, а завтра
and tomorrow we
проснемся,
will
и
wake
всё.
up, and that's all."
И мы такие,
And we laugh, ha ha
хи-ха-ха,
ha, wake
проснемся.
up.
Но
It
очень
attracts
часто
everyone.
это всех тянет. Очень...
Maybe you want to add something else? What would you like to say to people who are striving for this awakening? Maybe some guidelines? I want to say that the awakening is a very cool thing, and it is worth working for it.
Ради этого стоит. Это то, зачем мы сюда.
It's that what we came here for. I would like to wish you patience, strength, and awareness, that we could pass this path as easy and quick as possible, that we could walk in some good way. We are walking this path together with a team. It happens much easier when you are supported. When you are surrounded by like-minded people. We always share it and constantly grow. There are no ceilings and no limits. It is infinite process. That's why I wish everyone awakening and happiness.
И счастье.
Thank you.